Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 512. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Zellner.
Hello.
Marc Augustiniak.
Hey.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games. Brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. Congratulations, Matt. It is officially summer here in the month of July, and we're celebrating with ToeJam Earl this week as Season 11 continues. Almost called it Season 12 because my brain is 6 months in the future. We'll see you then in 2024, but for now, stay right here with a little ToeJam Earl to kick us off. I want to know, Marc, what do you think of when you think of the 90s?
Simplicity.
Oh, clean.
Or did you mean like something specific, like an item, or
whatever you think of, man. I got a list of stuff, but I just figured whatever.
Oh, we would that'd be a whole nother episode probably. Like,
Matt, what's your word association with the decade 1990s?
Simplicity is a good one. I wouldn't have come up with that, but that's a good one.
you can say funky.
No, I don't want to say funky. I don't know. Attitude? Oh, yeah, attitude. Actually makes a lot of sense. Yes.
You guys had a different... So I wrote down mullets, dinosaurs, aliens, Sega, and dance music. Those are the five tenets of the 90s to me.
So I was thinking Slim Jims, and then that transformed to wrestling, so...
Okay, yeah, there you go.
See, I was afraid of just naming one thing and leading it to another, and then another, and then another, and then...
Nah, lead into it. I think of the 90s, I think of X-Files, I think of dinosaurs, I think of...
Dinosaurs
mullets.
for sure. Yeah. Bright neon colors.
Yeah, but like different than the neon glow of the 80s. Just like a...
No, yeah, like highlighter colors. Yeah. Is a lot of that.
Yes.
Fanny packs, Walkmans.
Yeah. Back when technology was cool, you know? Now it's just practical, right? Now tech is it's a necessity.
Yeah, it was just a lot of gimmicky things back then, just to hold you over for like a weekend. Like, oh, here's this cool toy. All right. Here's this other cool toy. All right.
And they were I mean, I say that as someone who's literally talking through magic to two friends with a camera in clear resolution. Like, this is Jetsons tech we have happening right now.
Right.
But still, stuff used to be so much cooler.
Everything was what you would want from a Scholastic book fair, but like times 100.
Yeah. Back when they did it right. Well, we're going to hang out in the 1990s, specifically 1991 this week with ToeJam Earl. Developed by Johnson Vorganger Productions, or JVP, if you will. Published by Sega, released on the Sega Genesis, or the Mega Drive if you're from somewhere else. First released in North America, October 15th, 1991. Back of the box, quite the record this week. I love when we've got a long box description, so buckle in. 2 hip aliens in a serious jam. Check it out. We're ToeJam Earl, and we ran into a small problem. More specifically, a large planet I should have never let Earl drive. Help us hunt down the pieces to our rocket ship, and we'll let you jam out some tunes on our Megawatt Rapmaster. Deal? Whoa! We're bumping into some of the weirdest creatures in the universe. Earthlings. Boogie down with bewitching hula girls, block a nerd herd, or hurl tomatoes at a crazed dentist with a drill. Split up and scope things out, or hang together to share your stuff. Pick up presents you can use, like wings, rocket skates, and inner tubes, or ones you'll wish you hadn't opened, like bees, tomato rain, and school books. So grab a friend or join the jammiest party you'll ever play. And then we've got a little caveat here. Always new. No 2 levels are ever the same in any game. That's the...
I don't think that was a description. I think that was a Mad Lib. You just said a bunch of words, but
you caught
none
me.
of it strung together.
So, I will start with well, I think the back of the box kind of defined what this game is, but I want to know from you two, Mark, what is this game? If you were gonna, you were tasked with writing the first 2 sentences in a Wikipedia article about ToeJam and Earl, how would you describe it?
Wow.
Indescribable.
A little bit. It is a DOS-inspired walking simulator with just a bunch of knickknacks thrown in there.
Like... knickknacks.
All right, Matt, we got a DOS-inspired walking simulator with a bunch of knickknacks. What can you add to that to complete the sentence?
I did try to describe this game in my little written review that will go up on the website, but I described it survival horror-esque.
Oh man, okay, all right. I like that. This might be the world's first survival horror game. What gave it those attributes to you?
Survival horror? You're always on the run. You're always on the run. You're not really engaging with enemies because you don't have the weaponry, or you don't have the resources, and when you do get them, they're very scarce. So you have to kind of pick and choose your moments. So it's usually better to run or outmaneuver. Again, not scary by any means, but definitely getting those, like, you're low on resources all the time. It's better to run, figure out a way around the enemy than to engage.
Have you seen that mailbox?
Oh, I got to that mailbox.
I saw mailbox.
I saw it before in the manual before playing, so I knew we were dealing with good what are they called? Shit.
Mimic.
Like a mimic. That's it. Whew.
Yeah. Yeah. So, next, we've now successfully defined what ToeJam and Earl is. Now we'll talk why ToeJam and Earl for Season 11. I added this. It's the first game of the month. It's my selection. And I added this because it's a roguelike. And we played Rogue a few months ago. And this is, speaking of the written review that Matt plugged, you can check out thefreecheese.com and check out the article for this here podcast. And we've got our full written reviews for every episode, every game we talk about. But I pointed this out here. At one point last year, when I was building out my list for Season 11, it was entirely comprised of roguelikes. Beginning to end. It started with Rogue, it ended with something else, and in between, I sort of tracked the evolution of Rogue-esque games. And some of them were, I think, like departures, because I wanted to explore like what would happen if you took these elements and pushed them into a different direction and made something else. But generally, I was like, this would be a cool thing to explore, but ultimately, I threw it away because I, was able to make some different selections. Well, by not. I felt like we'd get tired of roguelikes and you guys would hate that I did that also. So I figured just having 2 on the list was enough.
Well, when your short list is every game known to man, it's pretty easy to pick around some roguelike.
I kept going, We'll see. Stay tuned for Season 12. But with this, I really wanted to see... Because I think now, in a post-Spelunky world, there's so many games that attribute roguelike or rogue characteristics to gameplay, and I think we've seen so many different iterations of what a roguelike could be, or even games that are trying to straight up mimic rogue or whatever, but there's just a modern definition of what that is, and I feel like everybody who's making those games today is just sort of repeating what Spelunky did in their own way. No one's really going back to rogue, and I thought this was interesting because it's, about 10 years after Rogue was released, and it's a major Sega published title on, the Genesis. So just like, what would that even look like? Admittedly, despite being the Sega boy, this was one I never owned. And anytime I've ever played it, the game doesn't do a great job at onboarding you, or it does, and I never paid attention. I still haven't figured that out, because now I've successfully completed it, but I feel like it took me like the will to want to get through it to actually get through it. Every other time I've tried it, it's always been like aimless meandering, and I never really got through it. So I picked this because of, the Rogue history, but also I just wanted to see this game through. It's one of the, core Sega titles that I'd never completed. And I wanted to see what that looked like. So I added it to our list. Other than this, this game's has spawned several sequels. There's a direct sequel on the Genesis. There's a third game that was on the original Xbox. There's now a reboot of sorts, Back in the Groove, that came out on more modern platforms just a few years ago. Have any of you played this or any of the other games in the series?
I've touched this as a kid, but I didn't understand what it was, so I was immediately turned off by it. And that was like my experience, like here and there. I tried the Xbox one, I believe. Can't remember if it was the full game or like a demo of some kind. But I felt like I got a little further in that than I did this one. But I still didn't know what I was doing.
Well, they've all been very different from this first one. This first one was the only one that was a straight roguelike. The second one was more a like a platform, I believe.
Okay, because like as a kid, that's what I was expecting the first one to be. Seeing those type of characters and just the way that it looked, I was expecting it to be very platformy. And the fact that it wasn't, I just couldn't comprehend it.
I think I had a similar thing as a kid. Whether I was like renting this or, later playing it in compilations, or I think even buying it on Virtual Console, it was kind of like expecting it to be a platform. And when it was just not that type of game, it was confusing to me as a younger boy. Matt, what about you?
I feel like I've seen these characters a lot. I think going into this, I was thinking it was a platformer until I was about to actually spend time with it, and when I realized it was what it was. And then you kind of mentioned earlier about the game doesn't onboard you because it doesn't. It is what it is, but knowing the era we were in, I resorted to a manual and read through the manual and kind of got the gist and very helpful gameplay hints and knowledge, and I was constantly referring back to it to see if a thing was good or bad.
Oh, so you used that for like...
I used it for the people.
Mm-hmm.
I could never remember the carrot guy was good or not.
Yeah, that was weird to figure out without a manual. So I was like, everything here is evil. I don't want to touch anything. Then that one was like, oh, I can see what presents you got. Like,
I think I was looking at the presents, but even with the description from the presents, I wasn't sure if things were good or bad. Like I used tomato rain at one point, thinking it was good because tomatoes are like you can throw them, but I think the rain's bad.
It never hurt me or anything.
Did it?
I was just good at dodging.
Was it just a giant AoE? I don't. Anyway. Yeah, there was some stuff to discover, but no. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of stuff to discover, but I was referring back to the manual, and the manual kind of gave me a very good idea of what to expect, kind of how to play the game. Yeah, and I was like looking at those hints, and those hints I feel are very. The tried and true travel tips in the manual. I feel like they were very helpful once I got going in this. Oop, you are muted. I see the lips moving.
I am muted. Thank you
There
very
it is.
much. I had a great segue and everything. Mark, you touched on this a little bit. What was your previous idea of what this game was and what these characters were, and how has that changed after playing? I guess you anticipated this to be a platformer, so you already talked about that a bit, but how about the characters themselves? Did you have expectations of ToeJam Earl? Has that changed since you played through the game?
Well, I think this time around, going into it, I still didn't know what exactly the gameplay was going to be like. I just knew that, all I had was just my childhood feelings about it going into it and hoping that maybe, like, that would change at this point. And it did. It changed. But, I guess just for the characters, I guess I was expecting maybe some type of, like, slight differences in their gameplay, but probably nothing to really, like, give anyone really, like, a big advantage. Like, maybe one moved a little quicker, or one was better at, like, taking damage, or something like that, you know? But not too much beyond that.
I guess that leads... Who did you all play as? Matt, who'd you pick?
I believe ToeJam. That's the red one, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mark?
I was also ToeJam.
I usually go ToeJam because he is faster from the beginning. But this time I went with Earl just because. And I really hope... I might just have to find a clip of it and send it. But every time playing as Earl, you pass a hula girl. It was one of those things where I kept hearing Matt talking about this game on the podcast and that specific scene cracking him up while playing. That was, every time I saw it, I just pictured us recording and Matt being like, it was so dumb. I just, like, because it happens so frequently, and it just was one of those little things where, like, you know, we each have our sensibilities. That was one of those things I felt like Matt would just, I don't know, glob onto. But yeah, that, I feel like, I hope ToeJam, did he hula effectively in your games?
He appeared to. He did it enough. I was
Oh,
very confused the first time it was happening. What the fuck was happening?
Just 2 frames of
Yeah.
pushing your hands to the side.
Pretty good. And did everyone escape from Earth?
No.
Mark?
Yeah, it didn't. No.
Oh. So I abused save states this time around. So this game's available on... It's been, thankfully, in most collections that Sega has put out.
Yeah, I played this on my Mini.
Yeah, it's on the Mini Genesis. It is... Wait, you got the Mini Genesis?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shoot. I did not know that. Okay, we need to talk about that later. Yeah, it's on that. It is... you know, even back on the PS2, if you picked up one of those little Genesis collection style things, it's usually in those. And it's now on the Nintendo Switch Online Sega Genesis library. So it's pretty regularly available.
I didn't know it was there.
And with save states, I think this game is a lot more approachable. You can also be a downright dirtbag like I was and get real spammy with save states. So what I did is I figured out how the telephone was programmed. So the telephone is an item you can get in the game. I guess let's back up. The game has a map that you have to work your way through. And when you pull up the map screen, it's visually drawn out by a huge grid of purple squares that obscure the full map. And as you walk across the map, the purple squares will reveal themselves so that you can see where you've been and revisit areas and whatever. If you find a telephone, whether just out in the land or you get one out of a gift that you find, you can use the telephone to uncover a random series of squares on the map. So when I was really in a pinch on certain maps and like really low on health, or just I knew that I was in the top left and there's so much map left in the bottom right I didn't know, I would save state, use the telephone, uncover the map, see if the ship piece or the finish line, not finish line, but the next level teleporter were revealed. And if they weren't, load the save state, run the telephone again, because the telephone, it generates as you use it. It's not like a set fixed thing. So I would just do that until I figured out where it was on the board, and then load the save state again to hold on to my telephone. So I had a permanent telephone at my disposal, and then went that way. Anyway, so that I think definitely helped with completing the game, because it's
I always
yeah.
No, I always heard the phone, but I could never find it.
Yeah, they're tough. The sound on them is way wider of a range than what you can see.
Gotcha.
So yeah, the goal of the game, there are 25 levels and 10 ship pieces. So ToeJam and Earl's ship crashes on Earth. You have to work your way across 25 levels to find a ship piece. The game is generous when you land on a new level, or when you take the elevator up to a new level. As you depart the elevator, it will say, hint, ship piece on this level, and you have clear indication. In case you missed that, or you weren't sure, if you go to the map screen at the very top, it'll tell you there are no ship pieces on this level, or one ship piece remaining on this level, that kind of thing. So it's very easy to know, okay, is my goal here to find a ship piece, or is my goal to find the elevator and get out of here? You can kind of quickly make your way through the map that way. For me, it took all the way up until level 25 to get all ship pieces. I don't know if that's intentional, if you have to survive all 25 levels and there's always a final piece on the final level, or if you can get lucky with random generation and the 10 ship pieces appear earlier than that. But I was able to do that. I guess my follow-up question to did you collect all the pieces is, what was your highest level of coolness? Do you remember?
The coolness, what were the levels? Hold on. The manual's still up.
So while you got to pull up, so the levels of coolness for the listeners, you don't level up in this game, but you do increase your coolness, which is kind of leveling up. So yeah, I guess you do level up, sorry. But it's not like you expect in a game, in an RPG game, leveling up. Like, there's no XP bar, there's nothing visible to the player other than your level of coolness, which is displayed right by your health in the bottom of the screen. And it starts off, if you're playing as ToeJam or Earl, it'll say ToeJam is a WeiNeR or Earl is a WeiNeR. And then as you uncover map tiles and as you open gifts, that increases your level. So the levels of coolness run from WeiNeR to Doofus, Poindexter, Peanut, Dude, Bro, Homie, Rap Mastered, and the coveted Funk Lord. How high did you make it, Matt?
I want to say Dude seems familiar. I definitely made Poindexter, but I don't remember Peanut, so I don't know. I don't know where I fall there. Somewhere on those three.
Yeah, Poindexter was the last one I remember.
The highest I hit was Bro, which I assume I could have hit Funk Lord had I not been save scumming, and because I probably would have been uncovering more map tiles and stuff like that. And then so there's the other element of this that is not unlike Rogue, where in Rogue, remember, you'd find potions or you'd find items, and you need to kind of test them out to see what they do before knowing what they do. And that is exactly what happens with the gifts here. Each gift has a visual design associated with it. So if you play the game enough, I think you could start to memorize, oh, that color package or that pattern is that item. because the manual, it tells you what the items are, but it doesn't necessarily have clean pictures of them, right?
No, I think it's random, even before the randomizer.
Oh,
yeah, like rose bushes won't always be in the same package from game to game or whatever. I don't think it's consistent.
But the second you have discovered that item, it won't be question marks anymore.
Right.
Okay, right. Okay, because I did notice that when I got an item, I forget what it was now, but it was an item that like re-randomized, like re-rolled all of the items.
Randomizer. Yeah.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I remember,
It's a bad item.
getting the rosebush thing, and it was 2 different shapes of package.
Aha, okay.
But once I got it, it always told me it would be that.
So
Bummer is my least favorite.
Which one?
Bummer.
What did Bummer do?
It just took your health away.
Oh, totally bummed. Or, yeah, something like that. Bummer dude, or... Yeah, it was something along those lines. Stupid.
Not fun.
I opened that, I was like, this is ridiculous.
But I think, if we go back to the old Berlin definition of... I think that makes this a true roguelike in that sense, because you need to have things that can damage or harm you while playing.
Sure. I just wish it didn't come in the form of a gift, because it is the opposite.
True. Well, that's just commentary on how Earth works, Mark,
That's true.
Some of the things that are presented as a good item, I did not think were good, such as the tomatoes and the rocket skates.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider rocket skates good.
You wouldn't?
Not when you're not expecting them.
No, that's what I'm saying. I would not consider these good items.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah, I feel like the tomatoes were useless, and I feel like the rocket skates just destroyed me every time I used them. Threw me right off.
Yeah.
So the tomatoes actually... So I did not use the tomatoes effectively. But in my due diligence research, and I watched a co-op playthrough of this, and the person I was watching did very well with the tomatoes.
I could not get the hang of them. But
that, I didn't understand.
Killed a boogeyman. It was actually quite impressive.
Oh, I didn't know you could kill the boogeyman, so good look at that.
I didn't understand the rose bush. Like, if you don't hold the button down all the way, it doesn't stay formed, but then, like, you can walk into it and it would still hurt you. But I was trying to leave it as, like, a defense wall for if someone was chasing me, but I couldn't tell if it affected them or not.
It's weird. So you have to, like, time it just right. If they're right up on you and you use it, it won't give the rosebush time to grow. So you need to, like, have a good enough lead on them, and you need to be on the appropriate terrain to plant the rosebush.
Right.
I kept getting chased in the sand, and you're super slow when you go through sand, and you can't plant rose bushes there. So,
am I the only one that thought the sand was nacho cheese?
I did not think it was sand until it took me a bit.
I didn't think it was. I wasn't thinking nacho cheese, but I wasn't thinking sand either. I don't know what I was thinking.
Dude, straight up, it just made me hungry.
Yeah. Well, that and new episodes of Beavis and Butthead, that's gonna send you looking for nachos right now.
It's very 90s.
Yes. Did you have a favorite power-up overall?
Them high tops, right? Was that what they were called?
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, you start with like 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It was very kind of them to do that.
Yeah.
So that was a good get out of jail free card. And a couple instances. The wings were good.
Yeah, the Icarus wings were my favorite. I just think they look so stupid flapping them, but also they're very good for navigating through the world quickly. Mark, did you have another standout?
Not really. I think it's just, it's nothing like fantastic, like creative. I just like the ones that gave me like an extra life.
Yeah, those are always great.
It would just like glow for a little bit and feel holy for a second, and then get a little star.
And that's something
like...
special to or unique to playing a 2-player game. You can high five one another to average out your life bars.
Oh.
Which is pretty nice.
Yeah, I feel like this probably would have benefited more from a co-op experience. Maybe. Probably still need a manual.
No,
I would
but
still
like
say you need the manual for identifying some stuff if you're new to the game, but co-op looked interesting. I actually liked that system. I'm kind of a little upset I didn't get to play it co-op.
Yeah, because I think we should be able to do co-op over Switch Online.
That would require me having that package.
I don't mean like literally us, but I mean like that's one way people could experience that today if not doing it in person. But yeah, that I think is a neat. It's just cool that there's you think of like roguelike or Rogue being such a hardcore game and such a solo experience, and the idea of like taking that and turning it into something you can play with other people and actually like have cool benefits to the game playing together. Because in this, you could split up and each tackle. You're not locked to the same level at the same time, so you can each kind of. Or no, you are. I'm sorry.
You're locked to in a progression stance.
Yes.
So you if you haven't been to 6 and you're on 5, one person by themselves just can't go to 6. You both had to go to 6. But if you fell off a cliff and something unfortunate happens, one's on 5 and one's on 3. The guy on 3 can ascend at their own will.
Did you have a favorite enemy that you encountered?
Define favorite.
So it's not on just on design alone. My favorite is the hamster and the ball.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you notice a theme throughout this game with their character designs, but a lot of them got some cheeks. And when that hamster his back is towards you, that thing got cakes. I was like, I shouldn't want this hamster's phone number, but for some reason I do.
I'm moving forward.
I'm just saying. It was just funny that of all the things in this game, I see this thing chasing. I'm like, what in the world?
Yeah,
Why
that's another. Butts were big in the 90s. You know what I mean? That was.
They were. Actually, honestly, between that and the Red Devil enemy, it was giving me cow and chicken vibes a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like the I just like that you have to keep telling yourself that you're on Earth because this map is not Earth at all as you know it. It's very...
No, it looks like, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Green water and some sand. Yeah. So when you pair that with some of the enemies, you do have some realistic type things like man mowing lawnmower or mowing lawn and chasing you. But I did chuckle the first time I saw a gang of chickens coming after me and using more tomatoes as mortars. I did not expect that.
My favorite thing, if you read through the manual, there's, shark, fat man and mower, lil devil, angry bees, mailbox monster, Santa, nerd herd. They're all kind of, right? The one that Matt just described is called chickens with mortars. Just straightforward. It's yeah, they're good. And it does seem like, I'm sure if we actually break it down, there's a specific, I didn't get did you guys run into the ice cream truck guy?
No.
He popped up for me later in the game. So I'm sure that there's a specific science to when these different enemy types appear level-wise.
Probably.
But the Phantom ice cream truck, when that showed up, they were spawning 3 at a time, and they are very aggressive. They're, fast. They catch up with you quickly. The one thing that's good about countering them is that once they get going in a direction, it takes them a second to stop. So you could bait them to the edge of a cliff and have them fall off, but they respawn within like 5 seconds. So you really have to be kind of like quick and get out of like. Usually when I had 2 or 3 on me, I would bait them all to a cliff and then open up Icarus wings or skates or something and just get out of there. It was kind of brutal, but so looking at this and looking at where we were, I know that I keep directly comparing it, so let's keep going there. But how do you think this evolves the roguelike genre? And I guess before answering that, neither of you kind of walked away with this thinking or associating this with Rogue, did you?
I mean, after playing it.
Okay.
Yeah, not going in at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know when we were doing the opening Wikipedia statement. I didn't know if either of you had kind of landed on roguelike as a general description.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, but if you have no idea going into it, that's what I was.
No,
trying to go
yeah.
off of.
How do you think it evolves the genre?
I would say it's more approachable than proper Rogue.
True.
Just from UI,
controls alone,
art. The
fact that you can just do this with 3 buttons, is enough in itself, right there.
A lot less items and possibilities, and
it's more of a passive game. It's not like a violent, not that Rogue itself was violent, but it does set a tone if you're going with the imagery, you know what I mean?
That graphic image of that S,
right?
Really,
but back in the
right
land of
next to you,
text
giving you
adventures and your tabletop RPGs, a lot of it was imagination, and yes, and emus are very violent.
That's true.
We all know.
Well, but the core of Rogue, if you bump into something, the idea is that you're going to attack until you defeat. And this,
I like how this is more comical.
It is, and I never defeated anything in this.
But you didn't have guns, you didn't have swords. It was like it's tomatoes, it's rose bushes, it's skate shoes. You know what I mean? Like it's all these weird like Saturday morning cartoon type stuff going on. So I do like that flavor of it. I do like that it's not fully a combative roguelike.
I put that in my review too. You mentioned the word passive, and this game, I feel like when I tried to play this game previously, I always kind of was like,
well, at least
I don't want to say
passive.
Rushing through it, but it always
everything else is hostile.
Yeah, everything else is hostile, but I also just felt like I was very slow. And I felt that this time too. Yeah. And for me, I think every time I play this game, I had always thought, how do I get faster, or how can I move quicker than I do? And this time, I found the most success in embracing that I was just hanging out. I was spending a night wandering around just as a weird starfish-looking dude, exploring the land and seeing if I could find some pieces, maybe dancing with a hula girl or whatever, grabbing some fudge cake. And that, I think, was the reason, well, that and save states were the reason why I was able to complete it this time, just because it felt like no pressure to get to the end, even though, like, obviously the impetus is that you collect all the pieces and escape Earth. But
sure. Yeah, like, I don't care for the movement in this game, but now I understand it. The fact that it is a roguelike, it's still working on that grid-like structure. I can understand where it's coming from, but I think, just like 5-year-old me trying to play this, not understanding that, or just wanting to move like Mario or Sonic or something at that point, and you're not doing it. It was just very off-putting. But if you go into it with a roguelike lens, I think there was a lot more to appreciate. Oh, and way to evolve the genre. I don't know any other rogue game that has an option to play drums in the soundtrack section.
I did not do that this time around. I forgot about that until you just said it, that is a thing.
Called Jam Out, right?
Yeah. You can play a song and then A, B, and C. A is your kick, B is your snare, and C are claps. There's a big delay lag input, so you're not going to be able to play with the music in rhythm, but it's a thing you can do.
Yeah, I accidentally stumbled onto that. And then I couldn't get out. Even though I know it said to hold start, there were some mapping issues with my controller.
Yeah, you had to hold it for like 3 seconds or something.
There were some mapping issues with my controller. It wasn't for lack of holding. Yeah. No, I stumbled upon that. I accidentally rewatched the beginning cutscene again after I had just watched it, which was fun.
Man, that was... Talk about, like... For ToeJam as a character, I thought that was very funny for that intro. It was just like, yeah, we're the funkiest aliens you've ever met. And we have this funky ship. And like they kept trying to like force funk into everything. He was like talking to himself so highly. It was very, very comical.
Yeah, I think that's going to be my takeaway from this game. It's like everything around actually playing the game is like really cool, really unique, interesting systems even to a degree. But like the casual, I don't want to call this casual, but like the casual, like just moment to moment walking, I got bored more than I got like intrigued or whatever. It felt like finding the elevator was becoming a chore, not because I was worried about my life and stock. It was just like, ugh. Started all the way up top. I walked all the way down, and just for the last purple tile to have the elevator. And that's how those types of games work. I do appreciate it being a rogue and stuff. It's just I think at the end of the day, playing the game just wasn't for me. Even though I liked everything around it, I was bobbing my head in the elevator rides up to the next floor or next level. The jamming out thing that I accidentally stumbled onto was fun for the 30 seconds I was figuring out what the hell was going on. I like the mystery gift system. I like how like certain things like there's secrets in the actual world, like bridges appear out of nowhere. How you manipulate different environments for speed bonuses. Like if you traveled on the road, that you were optimum speed. If you got in that desert or that sand, good luck. And there's a lot of things here that I like, and I like a lot of the systems. It's just the game just didn't really click for me in the gameplay department.
Because there's not much to it, right? Like it kind of has its system, and then that's kind of it. Which I think to date is why I always was not. And I was looking for what Panic on Funkatron ended up being with a platformer. But yeah. What games have you played that you feel were influenced by ToeJam and Earl?
Influenced.
This is going to be weird, and I'm not sure. It's probably not true, but I can just see it making sense. Wario Land.
Yeah, okay.
Like, ToeJam and Earl feel like characters that would exist in WarioWare. They have that vibe with them. But just how wacky the enemy types are, and how, like, none of it makes sense, and that's why it makes sense kind of approach. It gives me similar feelings. So, like, I could see it being an inspiration. I doubt it was one, but
I kind of have a similar answer. It doesn't apply, but for the way my brain's thinking about this, like Cuphead, like a game that just it went for its aesthetic. It literally threw almost all of his eggs in that basket, and that's kind of what like ToeJam and Earl. Not that it's thrown all, but like it oozes style and like an art like a certain kind of art style and whatever. Like I know you said Sunday morning cartoons, but I was kind of getting morning paper cartoon vibes from all the enemies and characters.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think to your point, it just kind of like a game like this. It is so not self-aware in that sense, but like it knows the developers had a very specific vision that everything feels cohesive and everything complements that vision. Like the loading screens complement who ToeJam and Earl are as characters. So does the ranking system, the character art, like everything kind of just feels like this world that we get to be a part of.
You know, I'm curious now, speaking about inspirations. I wonder if the high five system in Double Dragon Neon took inspiration from ToeJam and Earl.
Yeah, I could see it.
That's like a very specific thing.
Yeah. This game to me is synonymous with Sega Genesis, like right in line with Sonic the Hedgehog, Echo the Dolphin. Like when I think of Sega and Genesis, I think of ToeJam and Earl, despite having not completed it until this year. What games, even from the outside, that you've not played, do you associate with the Genesis?
What was the question?
It's kind of, what games do you think, if you think of the Sega Genesis, what games do you associate with that are just like, to me, I know there's been sequels. There was a sequel on Xbox, obviously. There's been a kind of reimagining that hit just in 2019, but
right.
What games feel Sega Genesis to you?
Even if they're not? Or are we...
you could go with that too.
So like the arcade brawler, like the left to right, like I don't know why. I know Nintendo has its fair share of stuff, but I feel like I've played more of that style game on a friend's Genesis at some point than I ever did on my own Nintendo. I don't like. Didn't X-Men have? I know there's X-Men the arcade game, but didn't X-Men have a type of game like, or was it X-Men the arcade game on Genesis?
You have. They were more like action platformers than beat 'em ups.
Okay, I know we played the one, but I thought there was another one that was more brawler-esque. Oh.
I mean, yes, but like I think that might have been on Super Nintendo.
Okay.
But honestly, the X-Men are Sega Genesis to me. Like just as a franchise, X-Men feels like Sega.
Yeah, like there was the one like Capcom game, but that first X-Men game is what I always remember.
Yeah.
With the Sega Genesis.
I mean, I always think Sonic.
Yeah.
For some reason, though, like specific. I mean, yes, those games, but Sonic Spinball specifically, for some reason, that one stands out just a teeny bit more. And Road Rash.
Yeah, Road Rash is very.
And Gunstar Heroes.
Yeah. No, we should play Gunstar Hero at some point.
That's a
anyway, that was
game.
a side little detour. From that, I think we'll prepare to rank this thing, but do either of you have anything you made note of that we haven't covered yet when talking ToeJam and Earl?
I'm curious to play that, like, what was that one that came out recently? Is that a remake or is that just a new game?
It's Back in the Groove. It's, from what I understand, I bought it years back and never actually played it, but I believe that it is fixed viewpoint the same way that this one is. Mm-hmm. You play on floating islands and you keep going up layer by layer.
Okay. I do want to play that just to compare and contrast, because
you want to play it because Macaulay Culkin produced it.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh. I remember like Adult Swim promoting that game, but I didn't know anything else to that.
Yeah, a lot of people got involved with that project. It was a Kickstarter thing, but then a lot of people jumped.
He was involved with another game project too. I think it was related to Zombies Ate My Neighbors, like the successor.
Oh, that yeah.
That Demons game or whatever. But no, I want to compare and contrast one specific thing, and that is the elevator, because I got a little impatient with seeing the little loading screen going to each map. I was like, this is unnecessary. I know this game loads faster than this, because every time you fall down a level, they don't give a shit. Boom, you're instantly on on the floor below you. So it's like, if I could just go back up, if I've already been there, can we just skip this transition? It's fine if it's my first time going to the next floor. If I've been there already, I don't need to see this animation every time I fall off and going back up.
Now I don't remember. Did either of you use the gift of, I forget, Recall, I think it was called? Where if you fall, you can immediately jump back up?
Maybe?
I never, I saw it in my inventory. I never really used it though. I only fell like once or twice, and I felt like I would need it for a higher floor, so I hung on to it.
I did it one time. I intentionally fell because I was trying to get. There was a piece I could not find another pathway to get to this piece. I knew where the piece was. I was whatever, so I was like, maybe I can go up and then fall down above it. But when you fall, it drops you at a random spot on the map, so it's not predictable. But my plan was fall, grab the piece, and then recall back up. So I tried the recall, but now I don't remember if it instantly did it or if you had to wait for the level to generate.
Oh, did you guys know you could swim right away, or did it take a ship piece being on an island for you to figure that
out? Not a ship piece, but just me accidentally falling into it and seeing it. Yeah. I did not mean to fall into the water.
I saw the sharks in there. I just thought they were going to jump out if I was walking along the edge. Yeah, then I was like, how the hell do I get there? And I save state that jumped into the water.
Yeah.
Was there a purpose to tiptoeing?
Yes. Sleeping enemies.
Sneaking.
Yeah, if there's a sleeping enemy, you can sneak by them without alarming them.
Sleeping. Got it. Yeah, I was not using it for sleeping. Okay. I
didn't know if it was just there just to be whimsical or...
No, a lot of the the little devils and some other...
I've seen them sleeping, yeah.
So you could creep right by them. That came in handy. But the problem is if you had an item out, you can't creep.
Right.
So it's a trade-off.
That's where you need 6 buttons.
Right. All right, let's rank this thing. You can follow along with the list at thefreecheese.com/thelist. Where shall we rank it?
The sad thing is for me, this doesn't affect the list in any way. My everlasting impression of this game is always going to be that one game that you played at the dentist office that you wish you didn't, because you didn't feel good if you didn't know what was going on. So I associate this type of game with the dentist office. The dentist office has its own genre of games. It's games where it's just you try to escape but you can't.
Yeah, no.
It's always uneasy feeling. That being said, this is the new 66. No, I'm kidding. I would probably put this... Ooh.
I kind of have a jumping off point here.
I thought I had a spot, but then I saw other games. I was like, shit, hold on.
Yeah, that's making it tough. Matt, what do you got?
So, as this list has grown and grown and grown and more random stuff has hit it, it's easier to make at least one direct comparison. So I went right for Rogue, and I think this is better than proper Rogue. So I am in the top 50.
All right. I All right, here's where I've been so far as we've been sitting here. I was like, do I like another Genesis game, X-Men 2 Clone Wars? I like it over that. But then I started looking and like, we've got that over Bomberman, which I like Bomberman over this. And then I'm like, Windjammers is probably better than this. Maybe.
I'm like, I think I'm hanging around like somewhere in that range of like Star Fox, Assault.
I was gonna say like
around there.
Yeah, like my initial reaction was between Star Fox Assault and Game Dev Story, which is 40 and 41.
Yeah, okay, it's the new 41.
But maybe even above Game Dev Story, so maybe between that and Amplitude.
Yeah, we're locking because where I landed was right below Snatch or right above Parodius, so I can fall down a bit. Do we like it over Game Dev Story?
I personally do.
I don't, but I think it's like kind of like the middle ground, and then I don't like Game Dev Story that much where I'm going to put up a fight for it. So
and does this climb above Amplitude for either of you or no?
No, I like Amplitude.
Okay.
The going back to like the core moment-to-moment gameplay.
I
I like playing
if
Amplitude.
Talk about funk. Amplitude has your funk.
You can also make your own music in Amplitude as well, right? Wasn't that like a thing?
So.
Yeah.
I think you can like remix or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
All right. Well, ToeJam and Earl is our new 40. Is that right? Yeah. 40. Not bad. Yeah, I've got that new remake or fourth game, whatever it is, on Switch. I should check that out. And so should you. I guess in closing, do either of you, or are either of you interested in playing the other? I mean, Mark, you wanted to check out the remake, Squeakquel, whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, any of them, really.
Yeah. Matt, how about you?
But I'm not gonna leap out on my seat here to play another one. But I think I liked. Back to what I was saying. I think I liked the package, that the aesthetic and the characters and all that. Where if maybe they tried it with a different gameplay, which is what happened with 2 and 3, maybe the formula's there for me. So I'm not opposed to it at all.
So then, would Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed made the top 10 for you had ToeJam and Earl actually made it in as playable characters?
I don't think so, considering I did not know who they were at the time.
Okay, fair enough. For this episode and all of our other episodes, you can head over to freecheese.com. Tell your friends about it. You can email us podcast@thefreecheese.com. You can also come back next week when we talk about The Darkness. Stay tuned for that. Until then, thank you, Matt. Thank you. How do I do this? Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. Bye.